Picture this. It's September 2024, Paris Fashion Week. A model walks the Valentino runway in a sheer polka dot dress draped in pearls, wearing a turban, carrying what looks like a Baroque fever dream of a handbag. The audience sits transfixed, some enchanted, others puzzled. Praise and skepticism collided in real time. 6 months earlier, this same runway showcased Pierpaolo Piccioli's final collection, romantic, refined, unmistakably Valentino. Now, under Alessandro Michele, the house that dressed Grace Kelly and Jackie Kennedy was showing streetwear couture hybrids that nobody quite understood. In less than a year, Valentino went from a house with one of fashion's clearest identities to a house whose identity was hotly debated. How does a 64-year-old fashion house lose itself so completely? And why does this keep happening to luxury brands that try to be everything to everyone? For 8 years, Pierpaolo Piccioli had given Valentino something precious: clarity. Piccioli gave Valentino coherence and romance, though always with modern twists, studs, tonal streetwear accents that kept couture alive in a changing world. Industry insiders called it one of Valentino's greatest eras. The numbers backed them up. The brand was profitable, critically acclaimed, culturally relevant. But beneath the surface, something was shifting. The average Valentino customer was getting older. New customer acquisition was stalling. The brand that had modernized Italian glamour for the 2010s was facing a question every heritage house dreads. What happens when your core audience ages out and the young consumers you need don't see themselves in your clothes? March 2024. The announcement comes like a thunderclap. Pierpaolo Piccioli is leaving Valentino after 25 years. By mutual agreement, the press release says, though industry insiders note the timing feels abrupt. His final show, just presented in Paris, suddenly takes on the weight of an ending nobody saw coming. Within days, the fashion world has its answer. Alessandro Michele, the man who transformed Gucci into a €3 billion maximalist fantasy, will take over Valentino. The appointment makes corporate sense. Kering owns 30% of Valentino as of January 2023. Michele's non-compete with Gucci just ended. Valentino's CEO, Jacopo Venturini, worked at Gucci. The chess pieces align perfectly, but corporate sense and creative sense aren't the same thing. Michele represents everything Piccioli didn't. Where Piccioli whispered, Michele screams. Where Piccioli edited, Michele accumulates. Where Piccioli served the woman, Michele serves the image. The fashion world holds its breath, because everyone knows what Michele does to a brand. He doesn't just change it, he consumes it. June 17, 2024. Milan Men's Week. Michele doesn't wait for a runway. He drops his first Valentino collection, Avant les Débuts, as a digital lookbook. 171 looks, 93 accessories. The scale was overwhelming, a maximalist flood that nonetheless wove in archival Valentino motifs. The strategy is pure addition. Take Valentino's codes, the bows, the red, the romantic shapes. Now add everything Michele loves: Baroque prints, street casting, gender fluidity, maximalist layering. A bow isn't just a bow anymore. It's a Dolce & Gabbana-sized embellished bow on a coat that also features 1970s hippie florals and 1980s polka dots pulled from Valentino's own archives. Fashion editors scramble to decode it. Yes, there are clear Valentino references, those archival color palettes, the lighter tones distinguishing it from Gucci's darker aesthetic. Michele has clearly studied the house's history, but he's studying it the way a DJ samples music, taking fragments and mixing them into something unrecognizable. Obviously very Gucci, but that's Alessandro, one buyer tells Vogue Business. It's meant as understanding, but it sounds like surrender. September 30th, 2024. Michele's first runway show. The set is draped in white covers, like a house in mourning or renovation, hard to tell which. The clothes emerge, flowing dresses in sheer fabrics, lace trims, polka dots, ruffles, embellished bows. Everything at once. The reviews split instantly. Business insiders praise the craftsmanship and commercial potential. Critics are less kind. Kathy Horan, veteran fashion critic, calls it stuffy. She sees costume tier ruffles without new proportions. No lightness. No fresh shapes. Just old Hollywood. Miss Havisham, she writes, dressed up as innovation. But the real verdict comes from somewhere else entirely, from the place where modern fashion lives or dies. It takes exactly 3 hours. That's how long between Michelle's first runway images hitting Instagram and the birth of a meme that will define his tenure. Vucci. Valentino plus Gucci equals Vucci. Twitter users, TikTok creators, fashion bloggers, they all see the same thing. This isn't Valentino reimagined, it's Gucci relocated. One image, models in maxi dresses and florals, goes viral with the caption, "Michelle really said copy and paste." The algorithm doesn't care about heritage. It doesn't care that Michelle studied Valentino's archives, that he incorporated the house's 1968 Sfilata Bianca all-white show, that he deliberately lightened the color palette to distinguish from Gucci's darker tones. The algorithm cares about pattern recognition, and what it recognizes is repetition. Fashion TikTok becomes a roast session. Split screens showing Gucci 2018 next to Valentino 2024. The similarities are undeniable. The same maximalist layering, the same gender-fluid casting, the same more is more philosophy that made Michelle famous and is now making Valentino a punchline. But here's what's really happening. Fashion is being judged in real time by an audience that doesn't buy couture. The conversation about a heritage house is being controlled by people who know it only through their phones. The democracy of social media means everyone gets a vote, even if they'll never spend $1. Valentino's official channels try to control the narrative. They lean into Michele's vision, launching a Vans collaboration in September 2025. Skate shoes meet Italian couture. The message is clear. This is Valentino for a new generation. But which generation? The traditional customers scrolling through their feeds see their elegant house partnering with skate culture and feel alienated. The young consumers the collaboration targets see a luxury brand trying too hard and feel patronized. Here's the question nobody at Valentino seems to have asked. Who exactly buys Baroque streetwear couture? Some longtime Valentino clients voiced concern, wondering if Dior or Chanel might better represent the elegance they once found at Valentino. These are women who spent serious money, 5 figures on gowns, 4 figures on bags. They didn't just buy Valentino, they collected it. Now they feel like their collection has been canceled. Not the young consumers Michelle is supposedly courting. They might double tap on Instagram, might share the memes, might even want the aesthetic. But wanting and affording are different things. The average Gen Z consumer isn't dropping 3,000 euros on a Baroque print dress, no matter how many gender boundaries it breaks. Not even the middle ground, millennials with some disposable income who might stretch for special pieces. They're confused by the mixed messages. Is Valentino high fashion or street fashion? Exclusive or inclusive? Italian heritage or global amalgamation? Michelle has created a customer that doesn't exist. Someone who wants couture craftsmanship with streetwear credibility, historical references with contemporary relevance, maximum everything with specific nothing. The retail buyers know it. My Theresa's chief officer calls it a beautiful and intensely romantic first outing that clients would love. But which clients? Harrods fashion director praises the rich collection. Rich in what? Options? Confusion? The diplomatic language of the fashion industry can't hide the uncertainty. Online, the forums where actual luxury consumers gather tell a different story. I've bought Valentino for 15 years, writes one member of a fashion forum. This isn't evolution, it's erasure. Another, if I wanted Gucci, I'd buy Gucci. At least then I'd know what I'm getting. April 18, 2025. Valentino releases its 2024 financial report. The numbers are brutal in their clarity. Revenue, down 3% to 1.31 billion euros. Operating profit, down 22% to 246 million euros. In any other context, these would be crisis numbers. In the context of a creative transition, they're a verdict. CEO Jacopo Venturini tries to spin it. Valentino cited global headwinds, consumer fatigue, inflation, a cooling Chinese market, with tariffs adding to the pressure. The timing of Michele's debut made it hard to separate external strain from creative transition. But timing matters. The decline coincides with Michele's arrival. Yes, the whole industry is struggling, but Valentino is struggling visibly. When you change your entire identity during a downturn, you can't separate the systemic from the self-inflicted. There's one bright spot. Online sales up 5%, now comprising 70% of revenue. Management points to this as validation. Digital growth, younger consumers engaging, shifting purchase patterns. The numbers suggest a paradox. Digital sales are rising, but overall revenues are falling. Valentino is visible and browsed more than ever, but translating clicks into meaningful growth remains a struggle. Because here's what the numbers really indicate. Valentino has become a brand caught between audiences. Entertainment for some, aspiration for others, content and commerce struggling to align. The analysts are diplomatic but clear. Michele knows how to add new customers to a brand and modernize a collection, one says. But adding new customers only works if you keep the old ones. Modernizing only works if anyone recognizes what you've modernized from. Valentino's crisis isn't unique. It's the logical endpoint of a transformation happening across luxury fashion. Brands trying to be everything to everyone, democratic and exclusive, historical and contemporary, local and global, specific and universal. Look at the pattern. Balenciaga under Demna, from Couture House to streetwear provocateur, Saint Laurent under Hedi Slimane. From French sophistication to rock and roll skinny, Burberry's endless repositioning, British heritage to global luxury to streetwear and back again. Each transformation follows the same playbook. Hire a star designer with a strong personal vision. Let them impose that vision regardless of house codes. Hope their followers outweigh the departing loyalists. Pray the math works. Sometimes it does. Tom Ford's Gucci, Nicolas Ghesquier's Louis Vuitton. But more often, you get Valentino 2024, a brand whose identity becomes the subject of fierce debate rather than clear recognition. The fundamental paradox is this. Luxury's power was never universality. It was specificity, the ability to say, this is who we are, this is what we make, this is who we make it for. When everyone is invited, no one feels special. When everything is fashion, nothing is fashion. Valentino under Michele isn't failing because he's a bad designer. The craftsmanship is there. The references are there. The ambition is certainly there. It's struggling because it's trying to solve an unsolvable equation. How do you preserve heritage while transforming it? How do you serve traditional customers while courting new ones? How do you become everything without losing your essence? The answer remains elusive. Each brand discovers this individually, but that won't stop the next brand from trying. Because here's the truth about modern luxury. The brands know they're evolving or dying. Their customers are changing. Their relevance requires constant renewal. Their cultural position demands reinvention. So they transform, sometimes radically, hoping to find immortality in change. Valentino wanted to be eternal. Instead, it became everything. And in fashion, as in life, everything risks meaning nothing to everyone. The models keep walking that Paris runway. Sheer fabrics and Baroque prints and gender-fluid casting and sneaker collaborations and 171 looks that all blur together into one question. Nobody at Valentino seems able to answer definitively yet. What are we becoming and for whom? The debate continues. The transformation unfolds. Valentino hasn't disappeared, but it has become a battleground. Between heritage and disruption, between old clients and new audiences, its identity is being rewritten in plain sight. Whether this rewriting becomes Renaissance or Requiem, only time will tell.